Hi, Ramona. As promised, I'm sending you the video footage from your speech at the PASCEP event honoring your mother, Annie Hyman. The footage will start with a view of the reception early on when folks were coming in for the event, and then there will be footage from your speech. Later on in, I observed that the person who was doing your video, I had stopped and put the camera down. So I picked mine up to get the rest of your speech. And at certain times I had limitations with my camera, so there might be a few words missing. But your speech was dynamic, it was wonderful, and something for your mother and Temple University to be proud of, and your family. Thank you. I hope that you find this useful.
I love me some English professors. I'm gonna tell you this, Google this. The Montgomery bus boycott and the women who started it. You don't even have to go far to look for that book because it's in the Bloxon Library. I went over and checked it out today. It's there. I love me some English professors. The people in Montgomery, they were so tired, they said that they were going to have a boycott. In 1953, Joanne Robinson, an English professor at Alabama State, she wrote a letter to the mayor saying if they didn't get this bus segregation stopped, that they were going to have a boycott. And then Rosa Parks, she was arrested. And so that English professor gathered her students and they created a leaflet that said, another, meaning, young people, that Rosa Parks was not the first. Another Negro woman has been arrested. The another was Claudette Colvin, who was arrested in March of 1955, and Louise Smith, who was arrested in September, and Aurelia Browder, and Susie McDonald, who was over 80. Check out Browder versus Gale. That's why we are not sitting in the back of a bus. Check it out. Google it. Tell every one of your friends about Browder v. Gale. So Robinson, she created a leaflet. At Alabama State, I argue that is the boycott school. She said another Negro woman has been arrested. She said, don't ride the bus on Monday, December the 5th, 1955. And don't ride the bus, walk with me, became don't ride the bus on Monday, became don't ride the bus on Tuesday. Don't ride the bus on Tuesday became don't ride the bus on don't ride the bus on Wednesday became don't ride the bus on don't ride the bus on Thursday became don't ride the bus on don't ride the bus on Friday became don't ride the bus on and don't ride the bus on Saturday became don't ride the bus on and they didn't ride the bus for 382 days. They walked and they carpooled. Folks, that boycott was so successful that the mayor said, the city commissioner and the mayor said that anybody charging less than a 45-cent fare would be arrested. Young people, y'all talk about boycotts. Just don't go to McDonald's for a week. Leave Burger King alone. We're talking about you don't even have to. Rosa Parks, when I met Mrs. Parks, she was so quiet. You don't have to say nothing. Just don't spend your money. Give it to Temple. Give it to PASCEP. It was successful. It was so successful that Mr. Gray said that he knew that the boycott, that they would walk and that they would protest. But he said he always knew that the boycott would be figured out in the courts. The courts. So they walked, they met at churches, and all of the time that they met at the churches, they met on a Monday. Andrew Young has said that the civil rights movement was simply a series of prayer meetings. I say that the civil rights movement was a series of prayer meetings where black and white church folk got together to fight for the country that they loved. Bus segregation went against the 14th Amendment of the Constitution. So when they went to court, they argued. 16-year-old Claudette Colvin, they tried to trick her, and she's still alive. They argued that it went against the 14th Amendment of the Constitution. On June 5th, 1956, the courts ruled that people my color being made to sit in the back of the bus, they said it just wasn't right. And they ended bus segregation in Montgomery. And they took it up to the United States Supreme Court, Reed Bus Ride to Justice. And they ruled in November of 1956 that the people my color not being able to get on the bus and sit with their friends like Virginia Durr, that it just wasn't right. And they ended bus segregation in Montgomery, Alabama. On that victory ride, where all of Alabama was watching, Alabama moved from the cradle of the Confederacy to the cradle of the Civil Rights Movement. And folks, I hope that you take an opportunity to travel down 65 South. And you'll see this big sign that says Rosa Parks, Alabama. And when you get there, what you're going to notice is that Cleveland Avenue, the Dexter Avenue Church where King was the pastor, and the state capitol are right across from each other. I can imagine that young King who had just moved to Montgomery. Folks, King was not even in the room when they voted for him to be the leader of the Montgomery Improvement Association. That King. He stood on those steps and he watched Jefferson Davis's statue. And he knew that he would have to take that from the cradle of the Confederacy to the cradle of the civil rights movement. So go on down to Montgomery. Go to Dexter. Visit the Capitol. Go to the Rosa Parks Museum. Go to the Lynching Museum. And what you're going to realize, and go to Alabama State, is that they are so close to each other. So close. That, folks, is the Alabama that nurtured my mother. My mother was nurtured in an Alabama with some folks that walked and carried a Christian ethos, an African American sensibility, a love for the idea of what it is to be an American in a place that sometimes do not treat you fairly. My mother bequeathed to this thing called PASCEP, that sensibility. My mother, this woman who was walking with this Christian ethos, gave her what she needed to begin this relationship between Temple, North Philadelphia, and some folks. Folks, 40 years later, it is not by accident that Ulysses is the director of PASCEP, and that Linda is her assistant. You say you love my mother. What I'm asking you to do is one thing. Get behind Alicia. Help her to continue to move this vision. Be what we call in the Department of English and Foreign Language, her soul guard, her cheerleader. Represent her well before the folk. That is a representation of Annie Dolores Poe Hyman. Thanks, folks.
Dr. Hyman, your speech was wonderful and should impact a lot of people that were in the audience. I thank you. It's my pleasure meeting you. Take care. God bless you.